Hey friends, so if you click this video, chances are you're interested in adding more prayer to your life. So guys, we're going to talk about 7 tips that I have for us today to make that happen. So the first one is you're going to need to schedule it in. Number 2 is get a prayer journal. The third idea is to get an accountability partner. The fourth is to set a specific place that you're going to be praying every day. The fifth one is to collect things throughout your day that you're going to be praying for. The sixth one is to base each day of the week on different types of prayer. And the seventh, wait a minute, you didn't think I was going to give you all 7 right out the gate. Guys, make sure and hang back for number 7. But guys, we're going to pull through each and every one of these steps. The first one we're going to get into, it's going to be a little bit longer. Then we're going to cruise through number 2 through 7. So friends, the first thing that you can do is schedule it in. You know, I found in my life, if I don't schedule things, a lot of the times they don't get done. So if I plan it out, if I jot it down on the calendar, you know, I'm more likely to accomplish my goal. And so today we're talking about accomplishing a goal. The goal is to add more prayer to your life. One of the things is you can get on with this idea of having a SMART goal. So a SMART goal is just that. It's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So when we think about that in the prayer world, you know, scheduling our prayer in, that makes it specific. So say I'm going to pray every morning from 8:30 to 8:45. So what that does is that makes it super specific, and I can actually go back and measure that. So did I pray today at 8:30? Did I pray till 8:45? You know, measuring our goals put things into reality. When I started tracking my steps, that really woke me up to what's happening in my life. So friends, I might take off on a really long hike, you know, putting down what I thought was the miles, and then come to realize it was only 4,000 steps. And I thought earlier that day I had ran some errands and I probably was like close to 10,000 steps when I'm really only around 5,000. There might be another day where I go what feels like a short walk and I'm already at 12,000 steps. So guys, using that is really going to help you be able to measure that. The next question, is it achievable? So basically, if you're saying you're going to go from praying very little or praying often or kind of sporadic to every day at 8:30 to 8:45, that's 15 minutes of dedicated prayer. Likely that's going to be achievable. So just because something's achievable doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. So we like to set goals that are going to push us a little bit as well. And this is realistic because I'm not saying we're going to be praying for 3 hours. You know, you're not starting off at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning and going 3 hours, which would go into the time where you're supposed to be taking the kids to school. Maybe you're going to have meetings at work or whatever you're doing. It's not going to bleed into the rest of your day. It's 15 minutes of dedicated prayer. Again, that's specific, measurable, and it's achievable. You know, this is realistic because it's going to work in your schedule. Now, I have a friend, you can check back the channel, we did an interview with him. He actually prays every single day for every person he's ever met. So that's incredible because the more people he meets, the more people he's going to be praying for. Now, obviously, that's not going to work for most folks. You know, if you're a lawyer and you have meetings all day, maybe you're a school teacher, you have a class to teach, you don't have the amount of time where you can dedicate your mind to praying. You actually have to be accomplishing some of these tasks. So again, we're going to make sure it's realistic and set it individually, but the main idea is to make sure that you're actually setting this goal. And again, by scheduling it, you can actually make sure it's timely. So it's getting done and the process can be tracked. So that's the first step right now. Number 1 is scheduling it out. Number 2 is get a prayer journal. I like little journals like this. You know, it doesn't have to be leather bound. It doesn't have to be incredibly fancy. Just start a journal and start tracking down what God's telling you. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be really fun to go back to later. You know, it's something you can see what you were working on a year ago, what God was talking to you about, what are some of the ideas that you had, and of course, hopefully you can intertwine some scriptures and stuff in there as well. Now tell me a president or a world traveler or some great one of the church fathers who doesn't have a journal. You know, I really look up to folks who have journaled, and it's really interesting to see how you can track either their adventures or track some of the major thoughts that were going through folks' heads as they were leading nations and stuff like that. And I'll tell you what, if a prayer journal seems too intense for you right now, think about it like this. Maybe you can try what I had to do in seminary, which was to get like a small notebook like this. We had the little composition, the miniature composition notebooks, and we were tasked with writing 2 things every single day that we were thankful for. You know, something huge about prayer. And this video won't be specific around prayer or how we should pray, but one of the most important things you can do in prayer is offer up thanksgiving to the Lord for all the good things He's done in your life. So when you're thinking about a prayer journal, you know, maybe you can start with something as simple as that, as tracking 2 things a day that you know that you were thankful for, that stood out to you, that only the Lord could have done that day. Now, number 3, guys, is to get that accountability partner. Like I said, this might be a tough one, and you're probably not going to get a call at 8:45 every morning figuring out if you actually did your prayer, but maybe it's a friend who you check in with once a week, every couple of weeks, whether you call them on the phone or meet with them in person. This is someone who you're going to say, hey, will you actually ask me this question? And so if you have a good friend, a good accountability partner, they're going to remember, even if you have to remind them to ask you, you know, you can bring it up, but that accountability is going to be solid. Now, again, we won't go through all the benefits of prayer, but guys, it should not, you know, slip away from our minds the importance of praying with the Lord and the importance of having that relationship. And I just think that accountability is really going to boost your guys' prayer life, even starting today. The 4th one, friends, is choose a specific place to be praying. Now, think War Room. If you guys haven't seen that movie, go check it out. But there's a specific place that you might come to and pray every day. Now, that's not to say that we can't pray in our cars, pray on our way to work, or pray maybe if we're sitting on the bleachers watching our kids in a soccer game running up and down the field. Whatever it is, we can be praying, and we're supposed to be in a constant state of prayer. However, we're talking about a specific type of prayer today. This intentional prayer that we're going to plan, that we're going to schedule, that we're going to have a journal about, that we're going to have an accountability partner for. So this prayer is a little bit different. You know, you might cover some of the same topics in your regular daily prayers, but in your regular walk of life. But this one, I want to be a little more intentionality behind it. And I think that repetition and that little place that's comfortable for you, you can really set in and get all the distractions. If it's different, you might have all these things going through your mind, but if you go back to the same place every single day, you know that when you're there, your mind is just going to let go of all your stuff and just ask the Lord to fill you up. Number 5, and we're going to have to bring back the prayer journal, is collect things throughout your day that you can pray about. So that might be a place that you jot it down in your prayer journal, or maybe you're at work and you don't have that with you. You can just text yourself some notes. You know, open up the notes app, or like I do, I have my own name and I'll text myself stuff. You know, you hear someone that has just an awful story, a traumatic thing they went through, or someone got injured, or you have something that pops up that you're struggling with that you know you've been talking about in your prayer journal. You know, write that down throughout your day and start collecting these things. Not to say again that we won't talk to the Lord about it then, but I think it's like a friend, you know, you haven't seen in a couple months, or you haven't called in a couple weeks, and you have all these things that you want to talk about, and you're so overwhelmed because you miss them, and then they have their whole life that they want to talk to you about, and you're just so excited and have so much joy. And so you have all these things written down, and then you just can't wait to get in there and talk with the Lord again the next day. So it's so fun to think about that. And I think that's, again, going to be a really powerful tool as you're writing stuff down throughout the day and just waiting for that moment to really dig deep in the Lord with all these different topics that you came up with. So number 6 was an idea I got from a pastor, and that was to schedule out your days to be praying for different things. So friends, if I'm sounding repetitive, it's not like you can't pray for these things if it's not Tuesday, if it's not Wednesday. But for example, on Monday, you're going to pray for your wife. You're going to pray for your husband. On Tuesday, you might pray for your parents. Wednesday, you're praying for the church. Thursday, you're praying for world missions. Saturday, Friday, Saturday, you're praying for politicians in your local area. I mean, whatever that's going to look like for you, you're planning a day so you know when Monday comes around, you're going to cover these things. So again, I think that leads back to that intentionality, and it's going to make sure that some of these things are getting covered, because when we tell our friends, you know, I like to pray for our country, or I'm going to pray for the local school district, I don't like what's going on there, or I want to pray for my health or my kids' health, or I just have all these things that I want to be covering. But if you don't think about it in a strategic way, then you might have the idea in your mind that you're a person of prayer and that you cover these things in prayer, but it might be that you're actually not. And that's the sad truth. So again, when we started, if you don't plan these things, sometimes they don't get done. So I really like that idea of having different days of the week to actually be praying about specific things and then seeing the Lord move in that and just seeing the results. I think that's going to be extremely powerful. So friends, we've made it through 1 through 6, and now here it is. Number 7, my idea there is to become a student of scriptures all around prayer. So friends, there's so many amazing scriptures that talk about prayer, and you can start Googling them. That's going to be your friend. And then as you're listening to sermons, as you're reading your daily word, as you're listening to different, maybe it's stuff in the Psalms, you're going to start seeing different biblical characters in prayer, down in the trenches, praying to the Lord. You're going to hear their prayers are written down and recorded in Scripture, and then you're going to hear, this is how you should pray, or this is what you should be thinking of. So I encourage you guys, number 7, be students of prayer scriptures. I just think that's really going to change as you start kind of looking and investigating through Scripture for how to become a person of prayer, how the Lord's telling you specifically to pray, and how your prayer life is going to be shaped through that. So I really hope that you guys got something out of all these 7 tips. Let me know if there's some that you guys are using, or if there's something today that you've heard for the first time. I'd be so encouraged to hear that one of these meant something to you guys. But let me know, what tips do you have for the rest of us that can increase our prayer and keep us accountable to that? So there's so many goals that we have in our lives, right? We want to see this level of finances. We want a house. We want this and that for our kids. We want this and that for our parents and our jobs. But what do you say we commit right now to increasing the amount of prayer that we have in our life? And so I think these steps are just a good starting point. You know, we might do a video next. These are the 5 tips or the 10 tips. It's no necessary order or anything like that, but just a few little pointers to get us encouraged about the Lord. So friends, until the next video, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you, look upon you with favor, and give you peace. That peace that only comes through Jesus Christ. So until the next one, guys, God bless, and we'll see you then.